and thanks for listening in to Work in Progress with Nicole Engelmann. Today I'm joined by Emilie Nutley. She's a money coach and expert for small business owners and creatives, and we talk all about her journey in her business today. Hi, Emilie.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. How are you today?
Yeah, good. I'm so excited that it is now autumn.
Yes,
Like now
sweater weather.
the temperature has cooled. I'm like, yes, give me a
Yes.
jumper. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, totally get that. So, in terms of your business, obviously, how did you get into money coaching? Do you love numbers? Is money always something you've been into? Let us know how that all got started.
Yeah, so no. I am not good with numbers. It is a known thing in my life, my family and friends, which is why it is absolutely hilarious that this is what I do as a job now. And I don't think people truly believe what I do as a job. Maybe they think I have a secret at the job. Because no, I am not good at numbers. I cannot do mental maths. But I think that is why I make such a good money coach. So I kind of fell into it it was back in 2020, just pre Pan AD. I decided like I needed to really sort my money out. I was in debt. I'd kind of always been in debt, like essentially since the day I moved out of home. I'd always had some form of debt, be that an overdraft or a credit card, and I just couldn't seem to get out of it, even though I'd worked my way up in a career. So I used to work in like technical theatre. So I worked in the West End, I worked on tours, and when you're a touring theatre tech, you get paid quite well because you get paid kind of like because you're on the road and it's like antisocial hours and all of that. So the money was there, but I got paid weekly. I get paid on like a Friday, and by the Wednesday I was broke. So I had no money. Like, and then Thursday obviously would be like I don't know, beans and rice, Tesco meal deal. And then Friday payday would hit, and we'd start the same cycle over and over again. And this really came to a head when I basically moved back to my hometown. Like I decided didn't want to do the touring life anymore. So when I was on tour, I didn't have rent because I literally lived on the road. I was in like a new hotel every single week, and like the company paid for that. So now all of a sudden I moved back to my hometown. I didn't move back in family wise, so I had to get like I had my own flat, had my own bills, responsibilities, and because I moved from technical touring theatre to regional theatre, the wage was basically a 50% pay cut. So I was taking home 50% less and I had more outgoings. And I was literally stuck in this cycle of putting groceries on a credit card to get by, like to get to the end of the month, to eat, to survive. And I didn't feel like I was overspending. I didn't feel like I was being quote unquote frivolous. So that was kind of the catalyst to me being like, okay, no, I actually need to try and figure this out. And I did all the things, all the trial and error, all the different forms of budgeting. I've tried it all until I kind of found a method that stuck, kind of found my own system in a way that worked with my brain that does not like numbers. And I started sharing my journey online, and I started sharing the debt payoff. And that I gained some followers and some momentum from that. But what really kind of moved the needle and turned this into a business was I started sharing what I was learning, and then people were like in my DMs like, can you help me? Can we jump on a call? Like, can you walk through how I should manage my money? And that was like early days of like money coaching. I think I charged something like £35 for a money coaching session. And yeah, that was kind of how it started. But it wasn't until January 2024 that I kind of properly went all in, because I had a baby in 2022, kind of burned my old business, like influencer style business, content creator, to the ground. And then started up again because I decided I didn't want to go back to the 9 to 5. I was working with homelessness at the time, which is very, very stressful, as I'm sure you can imagine. And I just didn't want to do that anymore. So yeah, I decided to go, do you know what? People used to pay me to do this thing. So I went all in. And then that's my journey.
Okay. I guess a lot of people can relate to kind of maybe not necessarily putting the groceries on a credit card, but definitely living from, paycheck to paycheck, or from client paying the invoice to the next invoice. So how did you get started with getting your clients then as well? Was it because you've already kind of did the influencer thing with the money as well, or?
Yeah, I think it helped because I had this quite a big, I don't want to say huge, but I had like quite a big community from where I had been sharing my debt payoff journey into a savings journey. And I bought this house, and all through that was a good like 3 years of me posting pretty much daily online, sharing what I was learning or what I was doing. And I got brand partnerships from that. So that was it was like a side hustle. But with doing that, because my main thing was content creation, I grew like a following of like 25,000 people. When I decided to go all in, I did actually close that account. I was like, because I felt a lot of pressure around the fact there was 25,000 people and that was stopping me from making that jump into being like, hi, I'm actually a money coach now. I don't want to do influencing anymore. Please don't ask me for any more brand deals. And so I got rid of that account and kind of let people know and was like, look, if you're going to be interested in this work, like it's no longer going to be like, I used to do £1 workshops, or I had like a £25 a month kind of membership. I was like, look, we're going to be we're talking high ticket one-to-one coaching now. If you want to come over. And I had about 2,500-3,000 people come over, and that really helped. So I started that transition in like the November, December, and I signed my first client in the January, who was someone that had followed me for a long time. And I think until late 2024, most of my clients, I think, were people that had been following me for years and obviously had seen what I had done, and obviously then kind of wanted to do that for themselves.
Yeah, I guess that's quite scary to kind of say, okay, I've got this following, it's 25,000 people. Obviously, we know that's not 25,000 people that are going to buy your one-to-one coaching or any workshops, but it's still like a big potential pool of clients. And then to say, I close the door on this. Let's see who's loyal enough to come over to this. Must be scary.
I think it was scary. It was definitely a jump I had to make, and I was working with like a mindset coach at the time who definitely helped me there. But I think for me, it was more, I knew that audience wasn't aligned anymore. I knew that audience wasn't going to get me to where I needed to be. And I think proof of that was I came back after maternity and was like, right, I want to give this a real go. So I asked, ask the community, what do you want? Like, what kind of should be my next workshop? And obviously, I'd just come off the back of like a year-long maternity leave. So the vote was money, maternity, all of those kind of things. And I was like, great, put together a workshop, put it out there at like, I can't remember if it was 25 or 35, but it was around that number. And I had one person join and 5 people in my DMs saying that it was too expensive. And I even had someone being like, as someone who talks about money saving, why is this so expensive? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this isn't the right audience anymore, because what they're looking for is how to scrimp and save. And I'm actually talking about how to expand your knowledge, how to like expand your capacity so that you can make more and keep more. And it was a different angle that I was now coming at it with, that I was like, do you know what? We just need to start afresh. So it was scary, but I think I knew it needed to be done, which is why I kind of sat on that decision for a while, and then finally was like, let's do it at the end of 2023.
I guess the difference is as well that you got some money from the brand deals, right? Whereas now you're closing that door, so your knowledge is worth something, and obviously it's proven because you're not in that anymore, and kind of bringing that to that audience that they understand, actually this is my living now, is also quite difficult to kind of convey. And like you said, when it's not the audience you're looking for anymore, kind of thing. Was that the biggest challenge to do that transition?
I think the biggest challenge was definitely closing the door on, like you say, 25,000 people, because that is it. Yeah, it's a huge number, and there's all that potential, and you think, what if, like maybe I just need to work a bit harder at this, like, oh, I'm closing the door on something that I know works. Like, it had generated me some money. It wasn't enough to live off, but then I was like, oh, can I make it work? So the biggest jump was definitely that kind of starting again, but also jumping from low ticket to high ticket. I think that jump from charging, like, brand deals is fine because that's companies, right? And that's big companies. I know they have a lot of money. I don't really care about sending them a big invoice. But day-to-day people, I think I really struggle with, like, charging above, because I had that evidence of those people in my DMs, right, saying like £35 is too expensive. And I'd had a membership, and it had been good, but even with my membership, which included the highest tier included one-to-one coaching, like one call a month, and that was like £45 a month. I die when I think back at like my pricing, but we all have to learn. So I think going from that to like charging, I remember when I was working with like my business coach, kind of business mindset coach at the time, and she was like, right, this is what you want to do. And I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. She's like, okay, what do you want to charge? And I was like, oh, I don't know, like, oh, 1,000. Like, that felt really stretchy. The idea of charging 1,000 for like a 3-month one-to-one. And I was really grateful of my coach actually at the time, because she was the one that kind of obviously pushed me within my limits, but was like, okay, let's say it was 2,000 or 3,000. What would that have to look like? And then starting to realize actually maybe it didn't look so different to what it was already looking like, and actually maybe I could charge. And I think putting that out into the world, those like that full figure pricing, and kind of waiting for someone to buy. Obviously, I was very fortunate in that it took like 2 months, but I know it can take, and it can take a lot longer. But like holding the hope and taking that leap of faith of starting again and charging high ticket.
I guess that's the famous imposter syndrome as well, when you're like, well, I know my knowledge works, but does anyone else see it the same way? And like maybe 1,000 is too much, or all those kind of doubts that are creeping in. So it's quite scary to go from, like I said, the 35 or 45 a month to 1,000, and then actually someone telling you actually it's worth 2,000, 3,000, and then you just hope for the best. I mean, there's a lot of work behind that as well. It's not just like, here's my price, and then you wait for people to come. There's a lot of behind the scene work as well. And obviously, before, the influencing was probably aimed at everyone. And now you're doing it for small businesses and solopreneurs. How did that come about?
That came about because honestly, I just love a challenge. I did like the first 6 months of when I went in kind of all in on money coaching. I did like the first 6 months of working with kind of, employed people. And it was just really boring. Like, I love you guys. I love you, employed people. But it was very much like the same thing over and over again. Like, we just had to implement this system, work on some things with their mindset. Obviously, it's not exactly the same, but it was really, really similar. And I felt like it was very much rinse and repeat. And my business coach was like, I know that I need you. So why don't you work with business coaches? And I actually resisted this. Like, why don't you work with businesses? Sorry. I resisted it so hard because I didn't think I had the knowledge. I didn't think I had the capability. And obviously through my coaching calls and talking to my coach and being like, well, this is what I would do. And like talking her through it and being like, oh, okay, what I have is valuable to other people. So I ended up launching like a kind of beta round of like one-to-one clients, discounted, kind of working them through a similar program, but then seeing what needed to be adjusted for business owners. Did that. They all got great results. I really enjoyed doing it. And I think it was after that, and that was kind of middle to late. It was like Q3 2024 that I was like, no, this is what I want to do. This is far more fun. There's so many nuances. I love the creativity behind it. Although I'm not a numbers girly, I love organizing numbers in a spreadsheet. I love spreadsheets because they do the math for you. Okay. So thank you. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into working with business owners. And then yeah, as I keep working with business owners, I'm like, yes, I love it like so much. And I'm always learning and like learning something new every business owner I work with. Whereas I think with employed people, there wasn't that much to learn beyond what I already did.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same. That's why I love the branding, because I work with so many different businesses and people, and every time there's a new business that I haven't worked with before, I learn something new and interesting that I probably wouldn't be touching my life otherwise if it wasn't for the work. And I guess as someone who's probably also ADHD or neurodiverse, we need that kind of, change and versatility as well.
Absolutely. I think that is, it's so hard when you're neurodivergent. So I've only like learned that I'm neurodivergent this year. And I feel like
Yeah.
now now I know. I'm like, oh. I remember telling my partner and he was like, how did you go through life with like no one knowing? Like so obvious. Um but it's, I think there's so many misconceptions as well around like money and ADHD, and I think a lot of people who maybe have ADHD think that that's why they can't manage money, and I'm like, to some degree yes, but doesn't mean you can't implement I know it's a really boring word, but like the systems, the processes, the rhythm, whatever you want to call it, to be able to do it. And you just have to find the way that works with your brain. I think that was my superpower, because clearly at the time when I was, like I said, I tried all the budgeting methods. I've tried tracking every single spend. I've tried the apps. I've tried 50, 30, 20. I've tried zero, all of it. It just didn't really click. And it wasn't until I kind of went away and kind of figured out, was like, oh, what if I try this? I kind of worked with how my brain actually works, that then I was like, oh, okay, that like I can actually make this work. So I think we have to almost recognize when something doesn't work, and rather than taking it as a personal failing of like, I can't budget money, I'm not good with money, kind of flip it. How can I be good with money? What am I missing? And for me it was like, okay, I need this simple system where I don't have to do mental maths, and I need to learn more. So that's when I, obviously started learning more about money. So yeah, taking that moment to realize what is the struggle that you actually have, and what is the solution. I'm very solution orientated. I kind of hate that about myself, but also kind of love that about myself.
Well, we all need to have a goal, right?
Yeah.
Do you find that most of your clients are neurodiverse, or is it a real mix?
I think so. I think obviously those that have told me, that are like, that know themselves. I definitely have a lot of, yeah, I feel like most clients have either told me they have it, or they think they're neurodiverse in some way. Um, or after working together they found out. So I do think it's quite a common trait for people who struggle with numbers, with kind of finances. I think it's because there's a lot of societal pressure to have things organized in a certain way, and if that doesn't conform with how your brain thinks about things, then it's just not going to work, and then there's a lot of shame around that.
It's a boring task as well, which doesn't help,
Yeah.
right? Most of the time.
There's no sugarcoating it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it is, yeah.
And I guess that's the other thing as well, that a lot of business owner or small business owners are actually neurodiverse. I think there's a figure as well, because obviously we don't work so well in a 9 to 5 job where you have to apply to the rules, and creative thinking is not encouraged and all those kind of things. So how do you find for yourself running your business, how to handle the whole thing?
I don't I don't want to say I don't struggle. There's definitely moments where I have been really overwhelmed, but I think I'm I don't know, I feel like I'm quite chill nowadays. I used to have quite rigid structure, and I think that's how I made it work, and that I had very limited time as well, because I built this business while my son was still like at home, and I only had like evenings, and then I added like a day here and there when he was at nursery. So I think because I had such limited time, I had like I had to really focus. I had to really just knuckle down. That I think that helped. I do, if someone's like, you need to do this, I will do it. Like I'm an overachiever. I love to go above and beyond. Set me a goal, I'm achieve it. Okay. So that helped. Now that I have a lot more time, like my son is now in childcare 4 days a week, I'm just so chill. Like I'm just really laid back. I actually am in this kind of transitionary phase. He's only just gone to 4 days a week. And I'm starting to wonder whether I'm too chill. Because right now I'm like, I don't have a process for like creating content, and then that makes me feel stressed out. So we're still learning, we're still tweaking, but I think, yeah, a mixture of maybe some routine and structure with the kindness of you're allowed to be flexible. For instance, there have been days where I've just, earlier in the year, I struggled really badly with anxiety and overwhelm. And there were so many days where I was just like, I just can't work today. And having the ability to just like message my clients who understood, because we all kind of go through similar things, and I was just able to like stay in bed all day. And it's like you'd never with a 9 to 5, you just battle through and end up getting burnout. So I think as long as you are able to spot that in yourself when you are struggling, and just be honest with that, just be upfront, with your clients, with your partner, with whoever it is that is able to support you, rather than trying to like knuckle down and battle through, because no one really benefits from that.
Yeah, it often makes it worse, I guess, because then you're struggling in another way. Anyway, you touched on like you don't have a system for content. So I'm just picking that up a bit because we're talking about visibility as well. How do you find that in your business, like showing up? Obviously saying as well that a lot of your clients are neurodiverse. That's maybe also because you're neurodiverse. So you're attracting that kind of audience as well. So how do you feel about sharing your life and being more visible?
I'm fine with visibility within, like, I have like a really, my brain is so weird. I don't mind showing up and sharing about my life. I feel like I'm quite a personable person. I'm quite outgoing. Like, get me chatting in a pub, I'm not going to shut up. So I'm like on Instagram stories, fine. Networking, love it. It's great. Do I, after a while, I'm like, I just need to sit out for a bit and like not talk to anyone? Yes. But the actual showing up and going there, absolutely fine. Love it. I really struggle with reels, like the idea, and it's something I come up against time and time again. I just hate it. I hate the idea of doing reels, and I don't know what it is. Like, give me a carousel any day. I'm like, I'm just happy with my little carousels. Why do we need to do any more? So yeah, I have this real like love hate with visibility, and that I love it and I think I'm quite good at it until it comes to Instagram reels. So I don't know what that is. Who knows? If anyone wants to kind of psychoanalyze me, if you're a content coach, come at me. I've worked with so many content coaches and content strategists over the years. None of them have got me able to do reels. So, yeah.
So is it the idea of doing like a trend, or is it the idea to talk to the camera? What is it that kind of...
I genuinely don't know, because obviously back in the day, being a content creator, influencer, there was a lot of, the dancing, learning the dance moves and joining the trends, and that was all fine. I love a good, nowadays, I think if I'm going to do a reel, I'm going to do talk to camera, because that feels like I feel quite confident in what I have to say. I think it's all those other like, it's all the other like mindset gremlins around like how I look, how I'm being perceived, and things like that that come up. And I think having that past in content creation hasn't helped, because when you are going viral, especially when you're going viral on TikTok, you get a lot of opinions. And I had a lot of, and it's men, it's always men. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Just stop commenting. It was always men like saying something to like discredit me, or like try and fact check, or like something. And I just almost got to a point where I was like, I just can't be bothered. I can't be bothered to deal with that anymore. But now, whenever I go to post something, especially like a reel, I'm just thinking about how am I being perceived. And I think it came from the experiences I had when I did have to create kind of mass like viral content.
Hmm. I guess that's the difficult thing to kind of get over, because those are strangers and we shouldn't really care about those opinions, but we also grow up with lots of opinions about, especially as girls, about our body, about how we speak, how we behave. So it's just ingrained, and when you then get it as an adult, when you're already a bit, insecure, or sometimes you don't even need to be insecure. You get that hate and then it makes you feel insecure. It's really difficult. I think what I find, because we're in a kind of business environment, I don't really see those hate comments. I guess it's different when you're an influencer, because it's more of a mass, right? A bigger audience. Whereas we're we're followed, or we're following other business owners, and they're generally nice people, right? They wouldn't think of like, oh, what hate should I spread today? Who can I bully or whatever today? But yeah, I guess once you have that bad experience, it's hard to get rid of that. Was there any other kind of things that you encountered in the last, obviously, 2-3 years since you've started the business, or especially since end of last year when it started fully? Any kind of challenges that you encountered?
I think it's the main one, which, being, it might be ironic being a money coach and helping people with their cash flow, is cash flow. I
Yeah.
think, just being honest, I think it's something that everyone struggles with, the balance of, I maybe need to invest in this thing in order to grow, but it would make my cash flow very tight, and kind of managing that. And I think I've had the struggles much like anyone else does when they kind of start a business and when they're working for themselves and they have variable income. Am I equipped with more kind of methods and how to manage that myself? Yes. And obviously helping other people do that. But I think it's really important to know that it is something that kind of everyone goes through, and it's normal. It's normal if you have to put the odd thing on a credit card. It's normal if you have to use savings one month to top up, how you're going to pay your bills. Like, these things are all normal, but we don't talk about them. And I think because of that, obviously being a money coach as well, there's like a level of like shame and embarrassment around, I don't want to talk about it because then people will think I'm not very good at my job, when actually I think that's what makes me very good at my job, in that I'm kind of with everyone. Like, I'm with you guys. We're doing all the same things, but because I have that kind of like that financial expert hat on, I'm able to see things from a different lens and try new things and give it a go, see what works, what doesn't work, and then teach those new methodologies to clients. So yeah, managing cash flow when you want to invest in everything, and also you are an impulse purchaser. When you do have ADHD and you want to buy absolutely everything, I always tell people, I'm like, sell your thing to me because I'm going to buy it. Like, just sell. Like, I love seeing other people sell online. I'm like, please, don't ever worry about feeling icky. Give me everything. I will read every single sales email that you send. But equally, that hurts my bank account. So yeah, that's definitely
I
been a
feel you there.
challenge to recognize that in myself. And yeah, going forwards, I have more of a system, more of a way in place of managing those impulses, managing that, almost like romanticizing the opportunity cost. I was literally talking about this with my cash flow confident gals today, this idea of, you want to buy everything and maybe you jump too quickly because you focus only on the financial return, but there are so many other reasons why to or to not invest in something, and everything has a double cost. But yeah, practicing that.
I totally get that. There's so many amazing businesses and service providers out there, and it's like every time I get an email, it's like, oh, I wish I could, and it is like, oh yes, I could really use that, but bank account says no, or I'm already signed up to 2 programs. I think if I add a third one, that's a bit much. So there's definitely a lot to juggle with that. In terms of, so we're almost at the end of the first part, and then I usually ask 2 questions. So one is basically something that you would tell yourself starting out, Emily. Is there anything she should have done differently, or maybe done exactly the same?
I I don't think I would do anything differently. I think, if anything, I shortened the gap between quitting my job. I was going to quit my job in like summer. I ended up quitting it in the January. that I got my first client, just from a mental health perspective. So I think, if anything, I would go into it just being willing to fully jump in straight away, as opposed to giving yourself that safety net. Because I think energetically and kind of mindset wise, if we give ourselves that safety net, we're going to use it. And that is potentially limiting that growth. But obviously that's not for everyone. Jumping in without, without a net, jumping in without a
Yeah.
safety raft,
I,
it's not for everyone.
I guess you could, instead of safety net, you could call it a crutch, and then it's a different light, right? Because you're using a crutch rather than a safety net.
That's true.
And the crutch might hold you back, like you said, when you just hold on too long. And then obviously you have less time available, you have other responsibilities that hold you back from what you actually want to do. But I love that you don't have, like any major regrets other than not doing it earlier.
Yeah, because I think the reason why my past business was a side hustle was because I kept it a side hustle. I think,
Hmm.
had I been willing to lose the security of a 9 to 5, then I would have made it a successful business a lot faster.
Hmm. Okay. So is there anything, that's the second question basically, is there anything you're really proud of? Could be something recent, could be something overall in your journey.
I think I'm proud of this business. I'm proud of the fact that I've grown it to, it's like, it's sustainable. Um, I know that, like this is it now. I know that I'm safe with what I do. I know how to make the sales. And I think the proudest moment is when, like, family members who assume like, I don't think anyone's ever said the phrase "your little business" to me, but people always ask, like, "Oh, how's business going?" As if they want me to be like, "Oh, it's like really struggling." I feel like that's the expectation. Naturally, I get to be like, "Oh no, it's great. If anything, I'm too busy. Yeah, just making too much money now, actually." So
That's a
yeah, I
sentence
think,
everyone wants to say.
yeah. But so this year, a big goal of mine was to, and like, don't tell him this, but out earn my partner. I like setting myself goals like that, and I've done it. And now I'm like the breadwinner in the family, which is, I don't know, little bragging rights just within myself. I would never brag. I'd never brag to him. I don't want to put anyone down, but within myself, I'm like, I know I set out with a goal and I made it happen. That's what I'm proud of.
That's really great. So he can't listen to this podcast then.
No, 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 no. I will not be sending it to him.
Brilliant, I love that. And that's basically the first part. So I guess for everyone else, first of all, thank you for joining, Emilie. But for everyone else, stay tuned. In a couple of days, there's a second part where we talk all about the nitty-gritty of money and how to, sort your shit out in that department. So thanks for tuning in, and I hope to have you back as a listener. Bye.